All right, UFC Fight Night Shanghai, uh, Zhang Mingyang versus Johnny Walker is taking place this weekend. And although it's going to be on 1 a.m. on US time, I'm pretty much jet lagged, which is why I'm recording this at 3 in the morning. But besides that point, uh, I think I'm gonna be awake for this card. So hopefully I get to watch as many fights as I can. I'm gonna be breaking down every single fight on this card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event. So without wasting any more time, let's jump right into the video. All right, so first off, we're gonna go with Sartibayev versus Diyar Nurgaje. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of names throughout this card that I have no idea how to pronounce, and I'm just gonna butcher a lot of them. So bear with me here. That being said, though, I'm gonna go with Uran Satibaldiev, Dr. Nurgaje. I watched this fight with Brenton Ribeiro. I remember that was his debut, and like Nurgaje was hyped up as this undefeated Kazakhstani prospect. Turns out Nurgaje is a complete bomb. Like he literally got bottom Kimura by Brenton Ribeiro and he just really couldn't offer anything on the feet as well, which is what he was known for. Like he just kind of let Brenton Ribeiro just tee off on him a little bit, and I just can't really pick Yard Nurgaje uh in this situation. Now, to be fair, Uran Satibaldiev, I don't think he's that good. Like you shouldn't lose to Martin Boudet. Like, Martin Boudet is a complete schmuck, but that was up a weight class on short notice, and Martin Boudet kind of just belly flopped on him because Martin Boudet is like 400 pounds heavier than Uran Salty Baldiev. I'm gonna say that Uran Salty Baldiev should win though. Like he actually looked pretty clean in terms of technique and the striking. It's just that Martin Boudet is like fucking 500 pounds, so he couldn't really damage shit. But I'm gonna say that Uran Satibaldiev is gonna win this fight 29-28. He's gonna outstrike Dr. Nurgaje. And on the ground, like sure Nurgaje can take down Satibaldiev. I don't really see a submission threat. So I'm gonna say that Satibaldiev should win this fight pretty comfortably. Alright, now up next we got Xiao Long versus Su Young Yu. I'm gonna go with Su Young Yu. Now, am I just saying this because Su Young Yu is Korean? Kinda. But realistically though, I just think that Su Young Yu is gonna be able to beat Xiao Long because Xiao Long, like if you fight him on the feet, like he's very tough to beat. But he is very susceptible to getting taken down, right? Su Young Yu, although I don't think he's gonna be like ranked potential or anything like that, I think he's gonna need to develop more tools in order to do so. I think his skill set is gonna perfectly match up with Xiao Long's because Xiao Long, like again, on the feet, he's a complete marauder. You're not really gonna knock him out or anything, and he can hit dangerously. But if he gets taken down, Shanlong doesn't really know what to do. Like, there's not much that Shanlong can do off his back, and I think Su Young Yu will be able to put him in precarious positions if this fight were to take place on the ground. And Su Young Yu, all this guy does is wrestle and try to maintain top control. All right, and on the feet, he's not a complete victim. So I'm gonna go with Su Young Yu, 29-28 decision. Maybe 30-27. Maybe he just rides out a Shalong for 3 rounds straight. But I expect Su Young Yu to do what he does, which is just out grapple people for like 2 to 3 rounds. Right now, up next, we got Yi Jia versus Weston Wilson. I don't need to explain myself. It's Weston Wilson. But if you guys want a technical explanation, I guess I'll give it to you. Weston Wilson, simply put, is a victim on the feet. All right? He can't really strike, even though he trains with Wonderboy Thompson. He gets knocked out in almost every single one of his fights. His only win recently is against Jekka Saragi, and Jekka Saragi shouldn't belong in the UFC, and that was because Jekka Saragi kind of threw himself into a triangle as he was trying to ground and pound Weston Wilson. I don't think Yi is really gonna have to fear that. Like literally, Weston Wilson, the only way he's gonna win if it's a fluke triangle off his back, and I really can't pick that type of way to win, like that type of fighter to win, unless like they're fighting someone who's like a complete schmuck who has no idea what jujitsu is. And I don't really think Yija's the best grappler per se, but I think Yija would know if someone's trying to fucking triangle them off bottom all of a sudden. So I'm gonna go with Yija. Round two knockout, round one knockout. Like again, Weston Wilson, like even in the fight with Jeka Sergi, he almost got dropped and knocked out. So I'm gonna say that Yi Jia's to win this fight by knockout. I don't know when, but it's gonna happen. All right, now up next we got Michelle Pereira versus Kyle Dawkins. Why has Kyle Dawkins been signed back to the UFC? I have no idea, but this is pretty obvious. Michelle Pereira is gonna win. Michelle Pereira was gonna be offered up as kind of a sacrificial lamb to Marco Tulio, but Marco Tulio pulled out, and in comes in Kyle Dawkins. All right, Kyle Dawkins is not Marco Tulio. Kyle Dawkins is a victim on the feet. Kyle Dawkins is a tomato can that Michelle Pereira can actually look good against. All right, Michelle Pereira, although he's looked bad recently in his fights with Abus Magomedov and Anthony Hernandez, I think Anthony Hernandez is actually really elite, and I think Abus Magomedov, borderline ranked contender, like maybe like top 15. But yeah, I think there's a huge gap in skill between the guys Michelle Pereira has fought and the guy that Kyle Dawkins has fought, all right, and got cut from the UFC as a result. So I'm gonna say that Michel Pereira just does whatever he wants to Kyle Dawkins. Again, why did Dawkins get signed back? I feel like he was on like a 3 fight loss streak or something along those lines prior to getting cut. But for some reason, Kyle Dawkins is back. So Michel Pereira, this is a free win. All right, now up next we got Rong Zhu versus Austin Hubbard. Rong Zhu actually looked really good in his last fight with Cody Steele, and I think that's why I'm gonna pick Rong Zhu to win this fight. Austin Hubbard hasn't been looking the best recently. Markel Maderos beat him. I don't really rate Markel Maderos as a prospect. He did go to a close decision with Alexander Hernandez, and that's kind of aging well. But I don't know. Austin Hubbard, he just doesn't really do much of anything exceptional. Is he gonna take down Rongju? I don't think so. Like Cody Steele couldn't take down Rongju. Like Rongju, I think is actually improved his takedown defense. And before you would actually say, "Oh, Rongju, like yeah, he can actually pick you apart on the feet, but like he's got non-existent grappling." But he's been working at City Kickboxing, so he has an idea of what to do now if someone tries to just shoot a takedown on him. And I think Rongju is, I don't know, he's pretty good. Like you're gonna need someone who's like uh top 25-ish in order to beat Rongju right now. So I'm gonna say that Rongju wins this fight pretty comfortably against Austin Hubbard, 29-28, 30-27. Maybe a knockout. I doubt it, but I'm gonna say that Rongju is gonna win this fight. All right, now up next we got Charles Johnson versus Looney Kavanaugh. Yeah, I don't know how this spelling over here is pronounced loony, but all right, cool. I'm gonna go with Charles Johnson. Yeah, like I want Looney Kavanaugh to win, right? I think he's like a very fun prospect to be out on the lookout for, and I think he has a bright future ahead of him in the flyweight division. But I just don't think Charles Johnson's gonna lose this one. Like, it's not that long ago when he beat Josh Van, right? Joshua Van is now gonna be fighting for the title next, and he's been known for fraud checking prospects, like Azat Maxim, who was like 17-0, who arguably should have beat Nurmagomedov. I think Charles Johnson is actually very good. Charles Johnson, now he did lose to Ramazan Temirov, but Temirov popped for steroids, which is why he's been pulled out of his recently scheduled fight, and there's no real news about him since. So Charles Johnson, I think he's going to do very well, and plus the way Ramazan Temirov beat him, I don't think Looney Kavanaugh is going to be able to replicate that. Like you almost have to be like a pure retard aggression maxer against Charles Johnson. Like you're not really going tit for tat like technical output against Charles Johnson and expect to win. All right, Charles Johnson is very good at maintaining distance and just picking his shots better and just knowing when to like blitz in and use his energy and when to just kind of chill and like pick his shots. Looney Kavanaugh, again, he's a very technical, smart, methodical fighter, but that it unironically does worse against Charles Johnson. Like the way Ramazan Tamarov was beating Charles Johnson, he just fucking swung like crazy for 2 rounds. And then like every time they were close up in the clinch because Charles Johnson didn't want to try to get fucking aggression maxed and back off the whole time. Tamarov did a good job sweeping him in the clinch. I don't think Looney Kavanaugh has that skill set. I think Looney Kavanaugh needs to be a little bit cleaner, and I don't think Charles Johnson's really going to give him the opportunities to do so. All right. Now, maybe if Looney Kavanaugh like improves his grappling to the point where like Charles Johnson can't do anything, sure, but Looney Kavanaugh is a primary striker who has wrestling in his back pocket. Charles Johnson knows how to defend takedowns, even against like good, like primary grapplers. So I'm gonna say that Charles Johnson's gonna win this fight 29-28. Maybe the first round he takes it off, like Looney Kavanaugh is getting the better of him, picking the shots. But I be like rounds 2 and 3, I think Charles Johnson's gonna work his stuff and just I'll put Looney Kavanaugh for like a pretty entertaining but a very close decision. All right, now up next we got Mahashate versus Young. I'm gonna go with Mahashate. I don't think Mahashate is all that good, but I just don't believe in Gage Young. All right, Gage Young. He came in his debut against Evan Elder, I believe, and Evan Elder just kind of beat his ass up. Gage Young kind of just stood there shadow boxing out of range. He's gonna really find his range over the course of 3 rounds. And okay, Evan Elder's like decent. So, and it was on short notice. All right. So, maybe I shouldn't hold him that accountable. But in his Dana White Contender Series fight, he fought Quinlan Salkilled. Now, Quinlan Salkilled is also very good, but Gage Young couldn't do anything against Quinlan Salkilled. Like, he spent his entire time just defending the back take, and just getting picked apart on the feet. I don't really see what Gage Young does exceptional to where he can win this fight against Mahashate. And now, to be fair, Mahashate hasn't had the best track record in the UFC, but I still consider him a UFC caliber fighter. All right, maybe not a good UFC caliber fighter, but he is still a UFC caliber fighter regardless. So I'm gonna go with Mahashate to win this fight, 29-28 decision, maybe 30-27, but I think Mahashate is gonna win this fight pretty clearly. All right, now up next to the main card, we got fucking hell. Kai Yulake Nuraje. Oh my gosh. Someone in the comments, please just correct me on how to pronounce this name because I don't know what I'm reading right now. All right. This guy over here, this guy with the black and white PNG versus Kiefer Crosby. This is pretty obvious. All right. You're not picking Kiefer Crosby to win a fight in the UFC, especially in 2025. Like, how is Kiefer Crosby still signed? Right. Like, let's take a look at Kiefer Crosby's record. All right. We got lost to Sam Patterson, and we got a loss to Kevin Jousset by submission. All right. All right. Those aren't bad losses per se. Like, I think Sam Patterson is pretty good, and I think Kevin Jousset at one point was looked at as a prospect, but it's the way that Kiefer Crosby keeps losing, right? He keeps getting submitted, and even on the feet, which you would think, oh, maybe he's like a marauder of sorts. Like, he just keeps getting hit over and over again, right? Now, Kiefer Crosby hasn't been knocked out in the UFC as of yet, or like just knocked out in general. But if anyone's gonna knock him out, Nuraj's the guy. I don't know how good his grappling is. I don't think he has a submission win in his pro career, so I'm not gonna say that he's gonna submit him, Kiefer Crosby all of a sudden. But Nuraj, whatever the fuck this name is, he's got nasty power, and the way Kiefer Crosby fights, he just keeps getting hit every single time before he gets taken down and submitted. All right. There's nothing good that Keeper Crosby does. So I'm gonna say that Nuraji or whatever the fuck his name is, he's gonna win this fight probably by knockout, right? Even if this goes to a decision, I don't really see anything that Kiefer Crosby does well in order for me to say that, oh, this is how Kiefer Crosby is going to win this fight. Because all he does is lose. So I'm going to say that Nurji is going to win this fight however he wants. All right. I'm just never going to pick Kiefer Crosby. And hopefully, Kiefer Crosby after this, like, he's going to get cut from the UFC because I don't think he's UFC caliber. All right, now up next we got Sumu Darji versus Kevin Boras. I'm gonna go with Kevin Boras. Sumu Darji, I don't think he's all that good, right? He had a very lackluster fight with Mitch Raposo, and before that, like he lost to Charles Johnson. Like, why is Charles Johnson on the prelims? I don't understand that. But anyways, Sumu Darji, he's not to the point where like you're gonna say that oh he's like exceptional at anything. He just kind of taps at range with low kicks nonstop. Like he doesn't really have any power in his hands. Like he could have knock out Matt Schnell. All right, there we go. His grappling leaves a lot to be desired, and I think if Kevin Boras can just get inside the pocket, he's gonna knock out Sumu Darji. Like I don't think Kevin Boras is really gonna get allow himself to get picked apart at range. Right, Sumu Darji, he did well against Charles Johnson, considering I thought that Charles Johnson was gonna like walk through him. But maybe Charles Johnson just didn't expect like someone who's like similar height to him in the flyweight division. Because Sumu Darji, like, yeah, you could say that like he did well, but it's not like he did that much. Like he just kind of tapped low kicks at Charles Johnson there in their entire fight. So it's kind of weird to see Sumu Jarji like as like a favorite in this situation. Like he hasn't looked good recently at all. And even before then, he was getting submitted by Tim Elliott in the first round. So I'm gonna say that Boras, like, even though he hasn't really had a good track record in the UFC, his boxing's pretty good. And if he gets in the pocket, he's gonna knock out Sumu Darji. I just don't think Sumerdarji he's not like using elite level footwork to the point where he's gonna evade the shots of Kevin Borjas for 3 rounds straight. And if some point Kevin Borjas is gonna be able to get in the pocket, and if I pick anyone to get a finish, it's gonna be Kevin Borjas. All right, Sumerdarji barely has any finishing potential, so I'm gonna say that Kevin Borjas wins this fight like by knockout, maybe like second, third round. All right, yeah, at some point Sumudarji is gonna get wobbled, and Kevin Boras is gonna be able to finish the fight. All right, now up next we got Sergey Pavlovich versus Waldo Cortez Acosta. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Sergey Pavlovich. This is a no-brainer. How is Waldo Cortez in the top six of the heavyweight division? Like, are we like is the heavyweight division that terrible to allow this fat schmuck into the top six? I mean, yes, it is, but it's still, it's like this is disgraceful, right? You're not really gonna pick Waldo Cortez Acosta. Like, realistically, is he going to outpoint Sergey Pavlovich like what Alexander Volkov did? No. And does Waldo Cortez Acosta have this elite level wrestling game or like some understanding of grappling to the point where like he's not gonna get taken down? No, right? Sergey Pavlovich, right? He's not gonna fear anything from Waldo Cortez Acosta. And I don't think Waldo Cortez Acosta really has the takedown defense. So I think Sergey Pavlovich will be able to work that in as well. And also, if they get in the pocket, Sergey Pavlovich will destroy him. Now, the only concern is the fact that Waldo Cortez Acosta, he has good straight punches and he's pretty fast. But again, I just don't see anything Waldo Cortez Acosta is gonna do to where like you're gonna really fear anything coming back at you. Like this guy, sure, he has speed, but he hits like a 1/20th of what Tom Aspinall would hit you with a 1-2. So Sergey Pavlovich, he's gonna walk down Waldo Cortez Acosta. Cortez Acosta is a complete bum. He should not be in the top six of the heavyweight division. So yeah, Sergey Pavlovich, buy whatever he wants, knockout, decision, maybe not submission, but yeah, Sergey Pavlovich should win this fight. All right, now up next we got to the co-main event: Brian Ortega versus Aljamain Sterling. Yeah, this is a no-brainer as well. I'm going with Aljamain Sterling. Like, how is Brian Ortega in the top five in 2025? Like, seriously, how is he in the top five? Like, his only win is against Yair Rodriguez. All right, and Yair Rodriguez also shouldn't belong in the top five. Brian Ortega, like, how is he gonna win this fight? All right, what is Brian Ortega even gonna do to beat Aljamain Sterling? Is he gonna take down Aljamain Sterling? No. And even if he does, Aljamain Sterling's gonna get right back up and just try to implement his own takedowns against Ortega. Is Ortega gonna get a fluke submission over Aljamain Sterling? No. All right. Is Brian Ortega gonna outstrike Aljamain Sterling? Probably no. All right. Aljamain Sterling, now, he doesn't really throw that much to a point where, like, Brian Ortega needs to worry about anything, but the same can be said for Brian Ortega. I think this is going to be a primary grappling match, and I just believe that Sterling has the lot better technique overall. Now, to be fair, all right, I believe this is 5 rounds, so that is the only point I give favor to Brian Ortega because Aljamain Sterling, I think he's gonna do well in the early rounds, and maybe in the end of the third round, he's gonna start slowing down. All right, Brian Ortega, he just starts marauding forward like a zombie. But again, Brian Ortega, there's nothing really exceptional about his defense. He just kind of uses his chin in order to tank shots. And while I don't think that he's really gonna have to worry about Aljamain Sterling throwing back with some devastating power, I will say this: Brian Ortega, like, there's nothing technically he does better than Aljamain Sterling. All right, Aljamain Sterling, he's an elite level wrestler in the UFC, and his back takes are actually some of the best in the UFC. Right? And even though he doesn't really get that many submissions and he can look boring at times, I believe that Aljamain Sterling is also like a slightly better jiu-jitsu practitioner overall. Like, because Brian Ortega, like, he is more fun, but he always tries to latch up like Hail Mary submissions, right? Off his guard. Or he can work in like consistent game plan where he's just like looking for positions before finding the submission, but that's against victims on the ground, like Yair Rodriguez. All right, Aljamain Sterling is not a victim, so I'm gonna say that Aljamain Sterling wins this fight, 48-47 decision. And if it's 3 rounds, I'm gonna be even more confident. All right. Because I'm not exactly sure if this is 5 rounds, but either way, Aljamain Sterling's probably gonna win this fight by decision. He's just gonna take down Brian Ortega, just ride the back. Maybe they get into a scramble, but eventually it's going to end up with Brian Ortega just pulling guard, trying to get a triangle. Aljamain Sterling just letting Brian Ortega back up, and this is going to be rinse and repeat. Aljamain Sterling should win this fight. And last but not least, we got to the main event: Johnny Walker versus Zhang Mingyang. This is Johnny Walker in 2025. So I'm going to go with Zhang Mingyang to win this fight by round 1 or 2 KO. Like, listen, it's just been happening way too many times. Volkan Oezdemir knocked him out in the first round. Magomed Ankalaev knocked out Johnny Walker in the second round. Even before then, Jamal Hill knocked out Johnny Walker in the first round. Like, there's just way too many times Johnny Walker's been knocked out in the first or second round. And even in Johnny Walker's wins, like, I understand that people think that Johnny Walker is some sort of like uh highlight reel merchant. Like, no. Johnny Walker went to a decision with Anthony Smith. Like, please finish Anthony Smith, right? And I just don't think Johnny Walker has developed any skills over the course of his UFC career. Like, 8 years into the UFC, and he still hasn't learned how to effectively jab, despite having like an 82-inch reach. And I don't really expect Johnny Walker to all of a sudden come out here looking like a technical boxer of any sort. So I'm gonna say that Zhang Mingyang, he's just gonna knock out Johnny Walker in the first round. Zhang Mingyang, now he does get hit a lot, which is my only concern. But again, right, Johnny Walker, although people remember him for his like crazy KOs, like how he knocked out Paul Craig. All right, that was the last time Johnny Walker got a KO. All right, it's been like almost 5 years since Johnny Walker's finished anybody. So I'm gonna go with Zhang Mingyang to win this fight by round 1 KO. Right? Maybe he'll struggle with the range for a little bit. Maybe Johnny Walker pulls off some capoeira shit and just keeps Zhang Mingyang at bay. But all right, maybe the second round. All right, Zhang Mingyang by the second round, he's gonna make his reads and he's just gonna chin Johnny Walker, left hook, and just knock Johnny Walker out once again, Looney Tune style. All right, Johnny Walker is probably gonna hit the fucking inflatable tube man before getting knocked out, and it's gonna be pretty funny. All right, so Zhang Mingyang, I expect him to get by a round two, a knockout. And yeah, that's gonna be it for the main event. All right, that's gonna be it for today's video. Leave a comment down below who you think is gonna win the main event between Zhang Ming Yang and Johnny Walker. And also let me know if you agree with my predictions overall. But other than that though, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.